Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about these guys, right? They're from the Vanguard and they love to pick on other channels, and they love to attack other progressives. Kind of weird. They call themselves the home of progressives, but that's the Young Turks. And the Young Turks have been around for like 20 years online, right? Let's react to what they have to say about Unaligned, Anna Kasparian's first Substack post. Anna Kasparian calls out the Vanguard in first Substack post rebranding as Unaligned. What do you mean rebranding? She's still on the Young Turks. She's not rebranding. She's calling her Substack newsletter Unaligned. So they don't like that she named it anything other than her name. Okay, so let's watch this.
Are you ready? You know, we talked about it a little bit when we reacted to the video that I believe spawned this Substack article. And I talked about how I thought that when I saw it for the first time, I wanted to send Sam Cedar a fruit basket. It was like he laid a gift at our doorstep. It was like he took the time to go and hand wrap it and do the sophisticated little bow on it that they'll do at the mall around Christmas time. And it just had a card and it said the Vanguard. And we opened it up and boy, did it deliver. Anna then turned around and boy, she was like, it's like parents who have just recently been divorced. It's like one of them gets you a Nintendo DS. The other one is like, I'm going out and buying you a Wii, son. You're about to get a Nintendo Switch or whatever kids want for Christmas these days. You know what I mean? Thank you, Anna. I want to start from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for this segment. We couldn't have done it without you.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Anna Kasparian of TYT. We're about to take a look at her new Substack venture. Make sure to hit that like button, everyone that's just tuning in. Welcome to the show. This is going to be a really fun and exciting segment. And yet another segment where I hate to do it. I hate to say it. I know it's insufferable, but you know, we were 100% vindicated. 100% right, calling balls and strikes from the very beginning, and the takes keep aging like fine wine. Call us wine cave Democrats, just like Pete Buttigieg. You know what I'm saying? That's how well our takes are aging.
Both of our spines sore. Scoliosis. From all the padding we've had to do, from all the congratulations, okay? You know, we're post Malone of bread soup. That's how many congratulations we're getting, okay?
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and I do think that we live free, rent-free in Anna's head, Nicholas Lopez. Before we get into the Substack article, I wanted to remind everyone about a somewhat unfortunate episode in the history of Anna Kasparian, and that's when she tried to take over the Jacobin YouTube channel, and everyone realized that without TYT, without Jank and the kind of, branding of that gig, not much appeal. No one really wants to hear from Anna Kasparian. No one really wants to watch her leading a show.
Actually, there's a lot of people who like her that watch TYT, that pay every month TYT. So the Young Turks, TYT, if you didn't know, they have about 27 million subscriptions across multiple platforms. 27 million people watch your show in some way, either on YouTube, on Roku, on Pluto. I don't know. Actually, I think they're not on Pluto anymore. On Twitch, on all kinds of platforms. They're like on tons of platforms. And these guys have a little over 50,000 subscribers. Cool, good for them. And I'm not saying your subscription count means anything, but the fact that TYT's been around for a really long time, and they just don't agree with her politics. They just don't agree with her or Jank completely. That's okay. We can all be progressive and not think exactly the same way. Now, I don't care if they think differently than me. I'm a progressive, and I like TYT, and I critically think about things all the time, and I don't think these guys are, to be perfectly honest.
Or, being the chief of a show or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, well, I think that Anna realizes that in order to be successful.
Also, I love how they're like, I think Anna realizes in order to be successful. How old are you? I mean, come on, you're like 12. He's probably like 22, but still, he's so young. And yeah, are you saying I'm being ageist? A little bit, because you know what you learn from growing older? A lot. You learn a lot. And I'm sorry, the person I was in my early 20s is nothing compared to who I am now. I'm a much better person than I ever was in my 20s. And most people are. And if you don't change, I'm almost 50 years old. I just turned 49. So if I was in my 20s and I was exactly the same now at 49, I did something wrong. I did not grow as a person. Anna did grow as a person, and that's what people aren't liking. She grew as a person. She realized what is more important to her and what's less important to her, and she aired it out. And I applaud that. More people need to be honest about how they look at the world, not hold it to their chest because they're so afraid anyone's going to attack them. And she's been attacked. There is a actual misinformation campaign against her, and I think it's awful. And she's doing her best to deal with it, but she's also a human being. Just because someone is in a national syndicated show doesn't mean they're not a real person and don't deserve certain forms of respect that every person should have. And that's why I call these guys fake progressives, because they don't care about anyone but themselves and the people that agree with them. That's it.
On her own, she has to do the right-wing pivot, the grift that we're about to talk about, which she's not laying the groundwork for in this Substack piece. But yeah, I think that a big part of the reason why not just Zach and I, but independent YouTubers and critics of Anna Kasparian, the people that actually get some views and who people agree with when they make these criticisms, absolutely it lives rent-free in her head. Why? Because we can actually successfully garner an audience. People actually care about what we have to say when we do our own independent operation.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's always going to be an audience for anyone. Anyone can get an audience. You can find like-minded people. There's people that don't like Anna Kasparian for whatever reason. Cool. Don't like her. Move on with your life. You don't have to like her. That's the thing. No one has to like anyone. And I just think it's just really sad that these people hate Anna Kasparian so much that these guys have dedicated multiple videos to talking about just her. And they're wrong about almost everything so far. I mean, I don't think they've gotten anything right so far. They think she's, gonna grift over to the right. She never would. If anyone thinks that about Anna, that means they don't understand the kind of person she is, and they don't watch TYT on a regular basis. I've been watching TYT for about a decade now, so I can tell you, and pretty faithfully. I may take a couple minutes off here and there because, the news is a lot, but for the most part, I watch the main show almost 5 days a week, every single week. And I can tell you, I look at other news as well, but I can tell you that there's no way she's going to the right.
We don't need Cenk Uygur and the Young Turks. That's just the reality of the situation. And again, even at the height of her, hosting Jacobin after the passing of Michael Brooks, I hate to make it all about numbers, but it wasn't doing well, guys. These videos were doing like 5,000 views. So, that has to be a wound to the ego. I'm just saying. And I do think that's why she realized, I'm not going to be able to make it on the left. I'm not talented enough to make it on the left. I'm going to have to start laying the groundwork for a right-wing pivot if I'm ever going to truly have an independent career, if I'm ever going to truly have a reputation in media outside of Cenk and the Young Turks. We've been covering in depth as that evolution has progressed.
You know what she says constantly on TYT? That she loves it at TYT. She doesn't love the news every day. And it's a lot. It's a lot. The news is a lot. And these guys don't produce news. They produce content like I'm producing. They're commentary. That's it. What we're doing is not nearly as important than what Cenk and Anna are doing. It's just not. And to say that they're not important, I want to put out there, what have these guys done for the progressive movement? I would like to know that, because I can't figure out anything they have done for the progressive movement other than make a YouTube channel and talk about a bunch of people. And cool, if that's what you want to do, cool. But don't act like you're holier than thou and you're better than everyone else.
But I do think it's fair to say that this Substack piece represents the most blatant attempt yet to signal that she's done with the progressive left.
100%, right? And let's not forget that every single day when she goes to work at the Young Turks, she's sitting underneath the banner of a progressive news network, right? That's how she is branding herself. That's how she's chosen to brand herself. The second that she goes out and takes a gig on Fox News or News Nation or AmericaFirst.com, I don't care. You're not going to hear the Vanguard talking about you, okay? We're not Freddy Krueger, okay? I'm not trying to get in your dreams. What I'm here to do is call balls and strikes when it comes to progressive media. And when you're calling yourself unaligned, it's the red pill, everyone.
It is not the red pill. She would call herself a fucking Republican if that's what she wanted to do. I'm not aligned. I'm independent. I vote Democratic, but neither do Democrats, and obviously the Republicans have my values. Same thing for Anna Kasparian. And there's a lot of us out there that thinks like her, that sees how over the last several years, after the last 20, 30 years, how either government, Republicans or Democrats, have failed us, that the progressive movement has kind of failed a little bit. We try, and Cenk and Anna have done, specifically Cenk, has done so fucking much for the progressive movement to push it forward in the correct direction, to get rights for people, to get healthcare for everyone, one thing Anna's very, very passionate about is about housing, because it's unaffordable where they live, and it's unaffordable most places. I could not buy a house where I live right now. I could not buy my house again. If I bought my house for what it's worth right now, I could not buy it. It's too expensive. Great for me for equity, but people can't afford to buy a house. Their generation, unless we fix it, their generation will not be able to buy a house. So it's amazing. These two kids, and I'm going to call them kids because you know what? They're kids to me. I can be their mom, so I'm going to call them children because that's exactly how they're behaving.
Everyone, it's the Adam and Sitch, it's the Matt Taibbi, it's the Russell Brand, it's the Jimmy Dore. She's done it, everybody. She has rebranded. This is the official Anna.
She has been on TYT for 17 years. It's a long time. And I don't think they appreciate the amount of time and effort she has put in. If she wants to have another outlet for writing, because she is a journalist, do they know that? If she went to college to become a journalist, and she is one, she teaches journalism classes at a college near her. I don't know if she does it every year, but I know she has in the past taught a college level class. And so them saying that she's using her journalism skills to write on Substack is somehow a grift.
Kasparian rebrand, and it's the soft launch. And you know what it is, guys? She knows that none of the people from TYT are going to be coming on and reading this because none of them care about her anymore.
I'm from TYT. I care. There's a lot of people in TYT comments that care about Anna Kasparian. I can tell you that right now.
None of them are interested in her commentary. She's completely stale. They want to hear John Adarola. They want to hear Jordan Eula. And maybe they want to hear Cenk Uygur because he's always made and sustained himself as the face of the operation. They're not that interested in it.
He's the owner. Cenk is the owner. Of course he's the face of the fucking channel. He's the owner.
Anna, okay, because they know she's going to say the same 10 things over and over again. This is for the people who love the police. This is for the people who hate the homeless. And this is for the people who want to pearl clutch about...
No. Anna does not hate the homeless. She doesn't... God. You can tell they know nothing about her because this is how they think about her. There's a prop in California where they want to raise the taxes again to help the homeless. But when they did that last time, guess what didn't happen? The homeless weren't helped. She voted yes for that first one because she's like, yes, we need to, I'm happy to pay more taxes. California has one of the highest tax rates in the country, I believe. So she agreed to pay more taxes if it would help the homeless. And then we all found out later on that none of that money really went to the homeless. It went to these NGOs, which is a non-government organization, and literally to buy lavish trips and food. And I just wanted to insert this clip real quick. This is part of that CBS News article. With makeshift tents lining the streets and disrupting businesses in cities and towns throughout California, homelessness has become one of the most frustrating and seemingly intractable issues in the country's most populous state. An estimated 171,000 people are homeless in California, which amounts to roughly 30% of all the homeless people in the United States. So think of that just for a minute, that 30% of all the homeless people in the United States are in California. And probably a large part of it is in LA. Let that sink in. There's big problems with homelessness. The fact that she talks about it isn't because she hates homeless people or homeless, seeing them. She wants them to be housed. She has said that multiple times over multiple years. Anything but like lifestyle. It was all a giant grift. And she's pissed about it. She should be pissed. Everybody in California should be fucking pissed about that. But because in her first story, she talked about how a homeless man sexually assaulted her when she was walking her dog, which is a very real thing that happens to women all the time, not by homeless people, but you can't not talk about it because it happened to be a homeless person. People got on her for saying stuff about it and called her racist. And if you read that, I highly suggest reading her Substack because honestly, there's nothing wrong in that. There's nothing wrong with her entire article. There's nothing wrong. It depends on how your politics are and how you see the world. Obviously, these guys don't like it, but instead of just not liking it, they're trying their best to make it out that she is going to the right.
Trans takeovers.
Yep. This is this is basically Anna Kasparian's version of the Dave Rubin thing. Obviously, Dave Rubin, when he left TYT and when he left the left, he didn't immediately come out as a straight up conservative. It took several years. It took probably 5 years, honestly. And he originally came out as a classical liberal, right? I'm not a right winger, but I'm also not a crazy lefty. I'm a classical liberal. Well, Anna Kasparian's own version of that is that she's unaligned with this nice little flowery graphic. Let's enter the void. So far, she's only published this one piece, independent and unaligned. You're right. I've changed.
What a better 4 words to put together. You're right. I've changed. Yes. 100%. Thank you, Anna. That's all you had to say. You just had to say, you're right, I've changed, I'm not on the left anymore, right? And then I just want the Young Turks to say, we're the home of internet news, okay, and not progressive media. I want you guys to forfeit your title as progressive media because clearly you're just cosplaying as that. Clearly you're just taking people's money and setting it on fire because you're not interested in accomplishing any progressive goals. You're actually working against them.
Yep. And,
I love how they don't substantiate any of their claims, like people on the right like to do, like commentators on the right. Where's their proof that they're doing nothing and they're hurting progressive causes? Do they not understand that, have they put together Wolfpack? Which is trying to get money out of politics because that is a big problem, and I agree it's a big problem. Do they not believe that's a big problem? Are they against getting money out of politics? That's weird.
Obviously, we're about to take a look at this article. We're about to take a look at the part where she references yours truly, the Vanguard. But before...
Where? Because I wasn't able to find it.
Share one of my favorite memes, one that never gets old, one that's always accurate, and one that always sticks in my mind like a rock in your shoe when we come to instances like this. Here it is. Neither left nor right. The right. Every time.
Yep.
10 out of 10 times. Every single time.
No.
And who are Gavin and I, if not the perfect reflection of the modern day Scooby-Doo gang? Here to expose who's the real right and who's the real left. I'm sorry, but there couldn't be better casting. Okay? I'm sorry. Gavin Shaggy, I'm Fred.
So is that like some kind of like admission that you're actors and not really progressive people? I don't think that's true, but it's kind of funny.
Take a look, Zach, at this dense text.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and start reading. Let's plow into it. You want me to read or you?
Go for it.
After Trump came onto the political scene, and especially after he was elected in 2016, the us versus them mentality immediately took shape. Anyone who refused to quote-unquote resist Trump was seen as a threat to our country, and I was fully on board with that mindset. It all felt righteous at first, but eventually the tactics deployed to fight Trump became repetitive, boring, and ultimately fruitless. She's been taking notes from Matt Taibbi. He's been spoon feeding her. This could be from the Racket News Substack. Polling shows that he has increased his support among Black and Latino voters despite wall-to-wall coverage on his unsavory, racist, or bigoted remarks. Several years of media raising alarm over Trump's threat to democracy has only resulted in a tight presidential race between himself and Kamala Harris.
Okay, so far, I don't see the problem in what she wrote. So I'm not sure why, just because you might have, or a person on the right may have said something that was close to what you said, or even exactly what you said, doesn't make you 100% a right-winger all of a sudden. It doesn't mean all your politics magically line up with that person. That is such a reductive and childish way to look at things. I mean, the thing is, I don't know if these two guys understand nuance. And I think that's a huge problem for a lot of people, especially young people that don't understand it. There are young people that do understand it. I'm not saying all young people don't understand nuance. I mean, there's people my age that don't understand nuance. So it happens in every generation. However, I don't think these guys understand what she's really saying. They're just, oh, well, you said something that's close to a person on the right, therefore you're right. That's weird logic. It's broken logic. I don't understand how these guys got to that mindset. And it's like their entire, like, the people who watch their videos. You know, if they figure out that I made a video about them, they'll probably call me a Karen, because they seem to think every white woman that's around my age, it deserves to be called Karen, which is also very childish. And by the way, boys, my name is Melissa, just in case. And it's just really funny. Just the lack of maturity in his commentary.
We're at the Vanguard.
Their commentary, my bad.
We're here to tell you it's tightening, but it's not that tight. It's not that tight. I can't help but acknowledge that the only thing that was accomplished by resisting Trump was less understanding and more division among Americans. I personally became reluctant to challenge my side or engage with voters who disagreed with me. Yeah, she means black people, by the way.
No, she doesn't.
It's not because of you. It's just she's afraid that she's going to make people angry. That's why she doesn't like talking to people who aren't white. Also, like...
Okay, I don't understand why they're making her out to be a racist, because she's not. She's not. Come on. Like, come on. Get real. I don't know if they're... I feel like they're virtue signaling. That's it. I feel like this is what they're doing. They're the virtue signaling kind of progressives, which is cosplay progressives. They are not real. These guys, all they're going to do is rack up views and clicks on YouTube. And are they going to use that money to go towards anything else? No. I guarantee you they won't.
Like, can we just take a second here to note the fact that she's blaming the divisiveness of the Trump era not on Trump but on the American voter?
No, that's not what she's doing there, and I understand what she's doing there, and you know what? There was a lot of people on the left, myself included, that were really not great to Republican voters. And as I learned and grew more, like learned and grow, whatever, you know what I mean? I decided that it's better to not throw these people away. It's better for everyone is if we continue to talk to people that don't agree with us, because that is the only way we are going to come to a more common ground and less of this very divisive, like we are literally doing exactly what the rich want us to do. Fight amongst each other. It's tiring. It's tiring to watch these kinds of guys out here that are just, they don't care about her and they just want to grift off her name. If they didn't like her and they didn't think they could make money off of talking about her, do you think they'd be talking about her? No.
The left who wanted to resist Donald Trump. Like, are you kidding me? Obviously, the Trump era has been incredibly divisive. I think we all would love to return to a less fractured country where we can, chat with our grandpa about, politics and not get into a screaming match, of course. But to blame the voter, to blame your average person for being like, hey, I'm not really cool with racism and I don't want to see that sort of rhetoric coming from people seeking the presidency. You're saying that's the problem?
Yeah, it's the people who are like us. We've called.
That's not what she's
really
saying.
taken the Pierce Morgan position. It's the people who have called Trump all of these names, right? It's actually leading to the intense division. You know what I mean? Oh, this is crazy. She says, I saw Republican voters as an evil mob.
No, the divisiveness was on both sides. It wasn't just on Trump's side. It's calling everyone on that side stupid, ridiculous, and I no longer think that. I think that they are pawns and they are being used by people in the Republican Party because they're rich and they want to stay rich and they want to keep their friends rich. So they purposely make the schools horrid in the Midwest and the South. And they purposely make it harder for people to get ahead, and it's like, there's reasons why. The reasons for the division isn't just from the right, it's also from the left. And we need to grapple with that, but we don't ever want to talk about that. Because you know what? I've experienced it. I've watched Anna Kasparian experience it online. And where you say something and someone sees it as whatever.
And that was a big mistake. Wow. So woke, Anna. Let's read on. My evolution started in 2022 when I was assaulted by a homeless man in my neighborhood as I was walking my dog. And now, for the record, we've said this multiple times on our podcast over and over and over again. That's a horrible thing to have happen to you, right? And while we believe that it has been used perniciously, to justify, one person's experience doesn't mean that we should villainize homeless people. It doesn't mean that we should fearmonger about homeless people. It doesn't.
Yeah, but that's not what she was doing. She wasn't fearmongering. She was talking about an experience she experienced, and the people on the left attacked her for doing that because the person happened to be homeless. They went all out and they went after her, and I'm stunned.
Doesn't mean that we should fund the police. What happened to Anna was wrong, and obviously anybody with a conscience opposes that. At times she's tried to portray it like the left doesn't care about that. No, what we don't care about is how that's changed your politics. Like, I'm sorry.
But she says it in the thing that they're fucking reading, that it wasn't that. It was the response from the left. And when your side that you feel comfortable with, that you feel safe and warm with, and you tell them something that happened to you, I'm sorry, I don't think these guys can at all understand what it's like to be a woman. Anna Kasparian is a small woman. She's tiny. And I can see someone like her being taken over pretty easily. I mean, she talked about it, and if you watch Jillian Michaels, which I'm not a fan of Jillian Michaels, but I only watched it because Anna Kasparian was on it, and she talked about her experience, and she talked about it in great detail, and I don't know what I would have done in that situation. Some women just panic. Some women just go, I know I've been in situations where someone touched me, and I literally just couldn't move. Like, I just couldn't do anything for a minute. Like, I was paralyzed. And I can only imagine you're bending over to pick up your dog's excrement and some guy comes up behind you, it doesn't matter if they're homeless or not. When they come up behind you and they dry hump you with his erection, come on. Yeah, so what if he was homeless? But by purely mentioning that doesn't vilify homeless people. Homeless people can also sexually assault people. Do they more than anybody else? No.
That something bad happened to you, but that's like, I got mugged by a black guy and now I hate black people. Like,
She didn't say that. She has never once ever say she hates homeless people. She wants the homeless problem in California to be fixed. And guess what? These fucking guys, they live in the Midwest. They don't live in LA. They don't live in Los Angeles. They don't see it every day. Los Angeles has a huge homeless problem. There are people, so does it, like Portland, Oregon. I've been to Portland, Oregon, and I've seen it. I live in Washington State. But there were a lot of parts that were not great about, the amount of, just the sheer amount of people on the street. Like, that's not safe for anyone. It's not safe for the homeless people. It's not safe for other people. And drug abuse comes hand in hand with being homeless, because how else are you going to fucking deal with being homeless? There's a good amount of people that are homeless that have mental illness issues. They didn't become homeless because they have mental illness. They became mentally ill because they were homeless for so long. And a lot of substance abusers are the same way. They weren't substance abusers before they became homeless, but because they became homeless, they ended up being substance abusers. Because how else are you going to deal with that kind of life? And no one's helping you. Your government isn't helping you. You're in the dumps, and your government is literally pocketing the money. Now, I don't think they knew that, but now we do. California was pocketing the money. The people that were, I think they were Gavin Newsom's friends too. So it's like, it's really extraordinary. And the thing is, the one thing that Anna cannot at all deal with is people who cannot understand nuance. And the people who said things about her like that can't understand nuance. And these guys can't understand nuance.
That horrible experience alone didn't change me politically, but the treatment I received from the far left and some progressives after sharing the story did. I was told that publicly sharing what had happened to me, I was stigmatizing my unhoused neighbors. Nobody said that. The egregious political commentary.
How does he know that? Because, they do have multiple platforms. So did they check every single platform that TYT has? Did they, because when she told that story, it was not here. It was on TYT. So was it a private message to her? They do not know that. They just say, oh, that's not true. But they have zero proof of that. And they never like to present anything.
That you did in the wake of that, and the cheerleading for a bunch of NIMBY-ass bullshit, and the support for the candidacy of Rick Caruso on the Young Turks, that's what led to all of that commentary.
Also, I gotta break in, guys. We've broken this down on the podcast before, live on air. I don't have all the tabs up right now, but you guys can go back in our YouTube channel history and find out for yourself. You can verify that I'm telling the truth. Anna Kasparian's right-wing pivot on crime happened before this incident that she talks about in this.
It's not a right-wing pivot. The wanting your town to be, your city to be safe. So yeah, the national averages of crime, violent crime, have gone down, but not everywhere. And violent crime has not gone down in LA. She lives in LA. See, I really think that's the huge problem here. They're looking at their own little place and they're not taking consideration where she lives. And it's like, yeah, when there are places in Las Vegas, there are places in LA and Los Angeles where the police, if you call the police, they just don't show up at all. Or they're too busy over policing Black neighborhoods and Hispanic neighborhoods. Anna is not, Because you know what they did try to do in California? They did lessen a lot of, like, they lessened some sexual assault charges down to a misdemeanor and let a bunch of people out that were dangerous. And Anna had a problem with that. I would have a problem with that too. Any progressive should have a problem with that. I think we need to overhaul our criminal justice system, absolutely. And prison needs to be better. But we can't let out the people that are violent criminals because they're going to commit a crime again. Because we don't rehab people in jail. We just warehouse people. So we need a better plan than just let them all go. I mean, I don't know if they're one of those people. They may be the really far, far left that think there should be no prisons ever. And that's ideal. But we have a lot of work to get there. And the thing is that no one seems to be talking about, including them, is we need preventive measures up front. We need a lot more help for children so they don't end up behind bars because of their circumstances. And that's usually why.
Article, and it happened before she shared it publicly or before it happened in real life, right? So she was already starting to make weird right-wing reactionary arguments that were like pro-cop and anti-homeless person for several months.
No,
I think it was like at least 3 or 4.
She has not once been like, homeless people don't need to exist. She advocates for the housing of homeless people. Constantly still.
Months before this incident occurred. It was only after that she shared the incident that some people, not even most, but some people turned around and said, oh, okay, so now you're sharing or potentially constructing this incident to justify your right-wing pivot on crime, your Fox News Light pro-cop pivot that we're all watching, that we're all looking at unfold right now. You're using this to justify that? That's not really politically sound. That's not really ideologically sound. That's not really how you make a political argument. But nobody attacked her for sharing that story. No one said that, oh, this is...
Again, they can't say that because they're not on every single platform that TYT is on. Just because they didn't see it didn't mean it didn't happen. That's, again, very childish and very simplistic thinking.
Is not something you're allowed to talk about, or who cares? No one said that. At least no one on the left. Maybe some troll on Twitter. I'm sure that some unsavory people popped up in her replies, and no one would deny that. But this is just an inaccurate timeline. This is just an inaccurate timeline here from Anna Kasparian.
Massively self-serving.
This is actually timeline. Not what motivated her right wing.
Do they know what's in her heart? I mean, do they? Are they in her head? They're not. They don't know. They don't know her life. They don't know anything really about her other than what other people, I think, have told them about her. Like, I don't know if they've ever even watched the show, but they pretend that they do. I don't know.
Wing pivot on the issue of crime. This came after that had already begun, and seemingly she trotted it out as a justification to silence all of her critics, people like us who, again, for months beforehand were all...
I'm pretty sure she would have not have wanted that sexual assault, to be honest. Most women would rather not be sexually assaulted because it fucks with you on such a deep level. I don't think these guys understand.
Already calling her out, and then conveniently she trots this out as almost a bludgeon, again, to silence everyone who had been noticing.
No, it's not to silence anyone. She's talking about her life. So on her platform, they're basically saying she's not allowed to talk about her and her experience. And they're there, the vanguard. They're there to make sure everyone knows the truth about Anna Kasparian. But they're not even presenting any truth. They're just presenting their opinions, which are honestly not blowing my mind.
What was going on? To say, hey, how dare you criticize me? How dare you make commentary about my pivot? Because guess what happened to me? Is it this tragic? And yes, it is very unfortunate. I've been the first to say that from the beginning.
100%. And now she acts like her second, it's like slow rolling. in poker, right? You put your first card over, and then you're like, boom, right here. I got this one too. He was white. He was he was white. What? Like that's supposed to change a goddamn thing. I don't care, Anna. I don't care about this. Like I care about this specific instance and the fact that like.
Yeah, but they're glossing over the reason why she's bringing up the fact that he was white is because people were calling her racist for talking about the homeless person. They were insinuating, they were inserting that the guy was black. Anna's white. She's very white. That's why Jane calls her Casper. She's making a point here. She's saying that he was white, not to be as a poker card player, but to be like, why are you calling her? Why? And they're doing the same thing. They're basically calling her racist because she's talking about how people were calling her racist for talking about something that happened to her. And she never even disclosed the guy's race. And then she did here. And I mean, you cannot please everyone. You just can't. And if you're going to be in the public eye for any reason, you have to understand that.
Like, I'm sorry that it hurt you
she knows
as an
that.
individual and clearly left a meaningful mark on your psychology. That's tragic, right? Okay, so what she...
On your psychology, it's called your psyche. Your psyche, not your psychology.
Doing right here, she's 100% signaling to her right-wing base, like, haha, the lips are
She doesn't have a right-wing
I
base.
totally own them. They're melting down and calling me racist, even though the guy that did it was white, haha. And it's like, no, dude, you're playing...
That's not at all what she was doing. She's not like, ha ha ha, he was white. They're projecting onto this. So now that I notice it with people, every accusation tends to be a confession. I feel like it might be them for them. They say they're not racist, but they're calling her racist for zero evidence, zero reason for doing so.
Checkers. Okay, we're talking about the chess moves. Every time you talk to your progressive audience and you plant little poisonous, unsubstantiated talking points.
And talk about conspiracy theory. Like, these guys are like QAnon about this. It's really bizarre.
You give them right-wing inserts when they have their guard down because they think they're getting progressive media. And then Gavin and I have to watch this stupid shit and be like, no, here we go. Let's mark it up. Like teachers in the 3rd grade being like, this is what you would say if you were a Republican. Okay? D- Progressive News Network. Call yourself the home of the young Republicans. And again, you won't hear from us anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And take a look at this, guys. This
But
is some
they're
of the most
not.
intellectually lazy garbage I've ever seen articulated by someone who thinks they're posting a real banger, right? A manifesto. Not only did I suddenly see the flawed thinking of some on the left, I also witnessed their cruelty and hypocrisy in real...
Yeah, because it does exist. I've seen it myself. And if you can't see the hypocrisy and the cruelty that can happen on the left, maybe you're part of that gang. Just saying.
real time. Yeah, guess what? That's called human nature. That's just called being human. Obviously, everyone has the capacity to be cruel. Everyone has the capacity to be a hypocrite. We see it all the time, specifically online and on Twitter, which is clearly, you're basing your experiences off of that. Let's be honest. Clearly, she's talking about people on Twitter. She's talking about people online. And again, it's like, come on, dude. Don't act like this is unique to the left. Don't act like this is unique to the progressive audience. If anything, people were just confused because you courted a progressive audience. You courted this massive left-wing progressive audience, then all of a sudden turned on the left. Yeah, of course, people are going to be confused.
She didn't.
But to act like the left is like...
They tell the truth. They don't sugarcoat it, which is why I continue to support them and love their coverage, because they do not pretend. They don't pretend to be people they're not. They are exactly who they say they are. And that I appreciate. And yeah, do they have Trump supporters that watch the show? Absolutely. That's a good thing. These two guys, I think, look at that and say, oh, see, they're turning right wing. No. They're just trying to invite as many people, regardless of politics, to the party. Because if more people understand the truth and see the truth, the better off we all are. Like, seriously.
Uniquely hypocritical, uniquely cruel online. I'm sorry, but I get on Twitter every single day and I see some of the most villainous.
And she didn't say uniquely cruel. She didn't say that. They're adding that. She literally said, I also witnessed their cruelty and hypocrisy in real time. That's how she felt. That's valid. That's how she felt, and you can't really dispute it.
Scum imaginable, and all of it comes from the right. I know you see the same thing, Anna Kasparian. Sometimes you're retweeting the people in question, like actual justice warrior or whatever. You know exactly what you're doing. You know that the right wing is far more cruel and far more hypocritical on Twitter. The same people that celebrated Elon Musk taking over the platform to restore free speech, only then to turn around and defend him time and time again as he censors his critics. And we're the hypocrites? Yeah, give me a break.
And she can't resist herself, guys. I guarantee you, she was maybe like, at least half a wine bottle deep, really feeling herself, maybe, hand rolling a cigarette, giving it the old puff. And then she's like, then there was the insane reaction to one of my tweets in March 2023. I like how she says in March 2023. Like, you posted a screenshot. It already says what date it was. Okay, we can all see that. Okay, you don't have to all in March 2023. Like, you're doing your own, entertainment news doc on yourself. All hell broke loose after I posted those words. What words?
And for the record, I agree with Anna. Now, this is my stance on it. I don't care what anyone wants to call themselves. If you want to be referred to as someone that is a person with a uterus, a birthing person, or a person who menstruates, you go. I don't care. But I don't want to be called that. And I have every right not to be called that. I am a woman, and I'm happy to be called a woman. You can support the transgender community without doing the shit. I agree. You don't have to agree with everything that's said out there. I don't like naming conventions sometimes. I don't have to like it. But you know what I am going to do? If someone says, hey, can you call me they or them? I'm happy to do that. Can you call me a birthing person instead of a pregnant woman? I'm happy to do that. You just got to correct people for what you want to be called. But you cannot determine what everybody else gets called for inclusivity, which it makes no sense. It's not real equality. That's fake pandering equality. And I think that's what Anna Kasparian looks at it as well. It's not real. It's just a naming conventions, and she doesn't like it. She's allowed not to like it and not be transphobic. I'm not transphobic. I 100% support the transgender community. 100%. Doesn't mean I want to be called a person with a uterus. I'm okay with being called a woman. I identify as a woman. That's what I identify as.
I'm a woman. The left hates it. These three words trigger the left. I'm a woman. The left hates women. Unlike the right, Gavin, real stalwart defenders of women.
But she's not comparing the left with the right, which is, talk about intellectual laziness for them. They keep saying, "Oh, well, the right won't treat, doesn't treat women any better." She never said they did. She never said they did. She just wants to be referred to as a woman. And she's allowed to have that thought. She's allowed to make that tweet as much as she wants. And if someone doesn't like it, that's cool. They're allowed to say something back because they put something on the internet. But I don't think you need to be such a dick to people. Like, not Anna, people to Anna Kasparian. She's called a TERF a lot now, which is, I find that really sad, and I find that damaging to the transgender community. I absolutely think that's damaging because she's not a TERF. She's not against transgender rights. She has a 15-year career where she has championed transgender and other, gay and lesbian and trans LGBT, all that. She supports that community. Like I support that community. And just because she doesn't perfectly support that community. Somehow she's transphobic? No, she's fucking not. She is on the right side of everything. She just doesn't want to be called a birthing person or a person who menstruates or a person with a uterus. I don't either. I don't want to be boiled down to a body part that no one even sees. That's weird. To me, it's weird.
Read on. Yeah, please don't ever refer to me as a person with a uterus, birthing person, or person who menstruates. How do people not realize how degrading this is? You can support the transgender community without doing the shit. What? Nobody calls you that. Nobody call.
No, but there are people, and I know people in mommy groups where they do. And there are some women groups where they do. So maybe she was in one of those spaces and it got to her and she wrote about it. You know? Why can't she have an opinion on that? Why is she not allowed to say anything? Why do these men, boys, but men, because I'm sure they're over 18, think it's okay to tell a woman that she's not allowed to say something because it doesn't perfectly go with being progressive, which I don't actually agree with. I think you should be able to, I don't know. I think you should be able to make up your own, you should be able to think about these things without being called names. Why? That's stopping, it's basically thought stopping behavior. These guys, they're just saying, shut up, sit down, and don't say anything. Why? They're part of the problem. These guys, they're part of the problem that she's talking about.
Nobody calls you that. As two people that have multiple trans people in our lives that we can get with, nobody calls you that.
No one calls anyone that.
No.
As you said, Zach, we know trans people. It's not like when they come over.
Just because you know some trans people doesn't mean that you know everybody on the earth and you're in every space on the internet. It's kind of big. Kind of big. Just because you're not seeing it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I do know people that have been in spaces where that was used and they didn't like it. And that's okay. They don't have to.
They say birthing person instead of woman when they're referring to women. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not a thing. No one does this. And again, based on this tweet, out of context, you would assume that Anna Kasparian had just finished a debate or something where her opponent had called her a birthing person or a person who menstruates in like a derogatory way, and then she's like posting like, how dare you, this was really disrespectful. But this never happened. That's what made this tweet so funny. And again, if you post it out of context, it looks like she's responding to something that did happen, but nothing ever did happen. Supposedly on a medical form at some doctor's clinic, it said birthing person on there.
That document was never made public.
That document was never made public, but let's assume it exists. Guess what? That's still not anyone calling you a birthing person. That's just a thing on a form. You can.
Yeah, and that's true, but she can also still not like it and still not want to be called that, and that's still okay. It's okay.
Mark it. You can do whatever you want. You can write your name. You can cross it out. Whatever the hell. That's no one is calling you that. No one walked up to you, pointed at you, and hey, birthing person, come over here. Like, that's not something that's occurring.
At the woke Gen Z Vanguard house, everybody is broken up into bleeders and skeeters, okay? That's just the way that we, you know what? Because then, it's just most friends in left-wing media didn't bother reaching out privately to discuss their disagreement with my personal preference. Instead, many self-described socialists took it upon themselves to profit from my from conflict by publicly attacking me with monetized videos. Here's the real banger. A small leftist YouTube show put out 5 separate videos skewering me about this.
They didn't call him by name.
Conveniently erasing the advocacy that I had done on behalf of the transgender community throughout my career.
Which is true. They literally made her out to be some transphobic person. A TERF, I think they called her that. I don't remember if they did or not, but come on. That just because one tweet, you're reducing her to literally one tweet. And you're like, oh, we know exactly what you are on this now. You don't. You don't.
They even went as far as drawing a link between my tweet and trans which sadly wasn't the most unhinged outcome of the debacle. Yes, criticizing Anna Kasparian is when socialist doesn't happen. Sorry, guys. You can't be a socialist and criticize Anna Kasparian.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure she's talking about us, guys. I'm pretty freaking sure.
Yeah, they don't even know, though. They want it to be them. But they don't know. Because there's been a lot of people who made a lot of videos on her. Not just these guys.
She's talking about us. And also, it's hilarious that she says, you know, they conveniently erased the advocacy I had done on behalf of the trans community. No, that advocacy, your previous position on the subject matter, was actually what made your recent pivot relevant in the first place to...
No, her current, the way she currently sees it is trans people deserve rights. They deserve equality. They deserve everything we all deserve. She's still going for that. So she's not against transgender people. She's just not. And the people who are painting her in that light I don't know what they're watching, but they're watching, okay, if they do watch a show, they're watching that show literally to be like, oh, there she is, that's it. They're just confirming their bias of her. This is confirmation bias, like bigly. I hate Trump so much. But anyway, he's infected my vocabulary.
Talk about Anna. Yeah, that's why we were talking about it, because you didn't used to say these things about trans people. In fact, like...
She wasn't saying that about trans people. She was saying it about herself. She was saying, don't call me this. She's not trans.
3 or 4 years ago, you were aggressively standing up for them. You were passionately arguing against the right-wing moral panic regarding the LGBT community.
She still does. She still does.
On a dime, come out with this weird turf posture. Yeah.
They're lying. They're literally lying.
And say, interesting, this former
and maybe they believe it, but it's weird.
Advocate for the trans community has now pivoted into a bizarre right-wing reactionary turf-coated grifter. That's the analysis. That's the whole point of the analysis. There
it is. They're calling her a turf again. People are not a turf. And for anyone who doesn't know what that is a... Okay, so a turf is derogatory, a person whose views on gender identity are considered hostile to transgender people. That's not Anna Kasparian. Or opposes social and political policies designed to be inclusive of transgender people. They accuse the protester of being a turf and transphobic. So the acronym is Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist. That's not Anna Kasparian. She doesn't want to exclude transgender people. That's J.K. Rowling, but it's not Anna Kasparian. That's just not true at all.
You know what I'm saying? It's crazy.
And I feel like if you're going to say these things, then you need to present the proof, which they're not doing. They're just saying, oh, we know. We watch it, so we know. So just listen to us. But the problem with that, you're just asking people to believe you without any proof. You want people to blindly believe what you're saying.
Easy, right? And also, I mean, come on, bro. Everyone on YouTube is monetizing videos and publicly attacking each other in the realm of politics and debate. What do you think the Young Turks is? You don't think Cenk Uygur monetizes publicly attacking people, even folks on the left? Of course, that's the whole point of this space. It's a debate culture. It's a culture of political disagreement. Obviously, when someone in the same space has a disagreement with you, yeah, you exploit that. You say, hey, I'm going to make content about this. Let's talk about it.
See, that's not what everyone does. See, that's not what Young Turks does. They are a news program. They deliver the news. And they give commentary of the news they're delivering. So they tell you there's a bias because there is no such thing as unbiased media. It doesn't exist. Because you can't erase your biases. You just can't. Everyone has them and you can't just erase them. But the thing is, they present things and then they show you the proof of these things, and then they tell you if it's they'll tell you their opinions, and they'll let you know it's an opinion and not that there's no proof of what they're saying. They'll let you know that there's no proof. Like, these guys are not. They're just commentary. They're just doing what I'm doing. That's all they're doing. They're not the news. I think it's just really funny. They're literally just trying to monetize off of drama, which I'm not monetized, so this won't be monetized, but you know what? I'm okay with that too. And I'm not saying you can't do that. I'm not saying there's something against that, but you can't equate what you're doing with what the Young Turks is doing. They're a news program. I don't see you on Piers Morgan. I don't see you on various, news shows. I don't see them on anything.
Hash it out. That's the whole freaking business model. And yeah, obviously a lot of people are socialists, ourselves included. But what do you want us to do? Just not eat? Like, this is our job.
Well, it's so funny too because again, people in glass houses shouldn't throw stuff.
Their whole job is to make drama videos about Anna Kasparian and lie about it. They're lying about her. To me, that's a grift. Is it not? No?
This is a pot calling the kettle black situation. Not only has Anna Kasparian and the Young Turks made loads of content covering controversy, right? I don't need to remind everybody of the countless Jimmy Dore battles that the Young Turks has gone through. I don't need to remind you guys of all the countless battles that's gone on amongst the inner workings of the Young Turks. This is the same network that also produced Dave Rubin, Jimmy Dore.
No. The network didn't produce Dave Rubin. Dave Rubin produced Dave Rubin. Let's get that straight. He has his own agency.
This entire cadre of folks that just immediately pivoted down the road, but they also cut their teeth making Britney Spears has a camel toe video. These guys used to make obnoxious commentary, okay?
Yeah. They are open about that. The Young Turks, if you look way back, go on YouTube and go way back, 18 years ago, their coverage wasn't news. They weren't a news show back then. They were figuring it out still. They were just doing whatever. So I think it's unfair to compare what they used to do with who they are now. Because they've gone through a lot of changes in the last 10 years, let alone the last 20. They are the longest running show on the internet. And I applaud that for them. I guess I don't understand why they decide to make these endless videos about Anna Kasparian and then try to equivocate saying that they're doing exactly what Cenk and Anna are doing, but they're not doing that. They're not bringing you guys up on their YouTube channel and talking about you guys. And maybe that's what they're hoping for, because TYT has a massive audience and they don't. But they have a massive audience compared to mine. I have 83. I have 383 subscribers. Okay. I'm terrible at making videos often, and I'm trying to get better at that.
It started out as a diet Howard Stern show. So for her to come over here and pearl clutch about how we make our content on YouTube, go on cable news, go on MSNBC. We like being YouTubers. We like being live streamers. We don't think there's anything wrong with that. We think it's a cool job. We like hanging out with our audience. We like actually engaging with our audience. And we like calling out liars and people who pivot for monetary convenience.
Yeah, she's not doing that.
Okay, and when you go from being an ardent leftist all the way to constantly making the case for the right, you're just following that TYT to right-wing pipeline. And while Gavin's gone, I want to go ahead and throw this out, because in this
TYT to right-wing pipeline. Get the fuck out of here.
Nice about her, right? This is from the DNC, right? Maybe the week after the DNC. So we're talking the last 6 weeks. Okay, this is commentary that we gave about Anna Kasparian. Let's just let everybody watch for a second. Here in a second, it's really short, but I also wanted to hear from Anna Kasparian, somebody that we've obviously had massive disagreements with on the show over the last maybe 18 months, 24 months, right? But it was honestly really refreshing to just see a moment of pure unity on, the internet left. We're saying obviously we want Donald Trump out, obviously we want change, obviously there's a lot of excitement going around, but the way that the Democratic Party has chosen to handle the situation in Gaza, the absolute barbarism, the cold-heartedness, the sterility, and just the nauseating disregard for human life and human suffering, unacceptable to all of us. And I think that this is the perfect time for us to unify, which is why we wanted to make sure that we took time on this podcast to, give Anna some flowers. This was a difficult thing to share. So anyway, we give people their flowers when it's called for, Anna. That was from...
Yeah, but then they didn't, like, talk about what she talked about. And she talked about how people in Haifa took in her family when they were fleeing the Armenian genocide. And they took her in, the Palestinian people in Haifa. And they treated her family great. Her maternal grandmother has I don't know if she's still alive, nothing bad to say about them. And this affects Anna deeply. And she's talked about it publicly a few times now, so I feel comfortable saying that on my YouTube channel about her because she talked about it publicly.
From 6 weeks ago. Apparently you're a big fan of our channel. What's up, dog? If you write yourself, if you want to be saved, we will save you. We are building a religion. We are building it bigger. We are widening the corridors and adding more lanes. Anna, let us save you.
Ew.
Get out.
Anna, let us save you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Like, these two guys want to go and be savior for this woman. You know, white men, and I'm sorry, but I gotta be truthful here. White men are the most out of touch people in America, by far. And I include almost every white man in that. And I don't say that to be derisive, whatever. To be divisive. Maybe that's the right word. I don't say that to be difficult or to any of that. It's just been my experience. Anybody that is not on the top, because white men are at the top of that food chain regardless of their income, fail forward a lot. And I've experienced that a lot. And it wasn't because they were better, because they weren't. A lot of time they get fired. And then they would give somebody that truly deserved the job. And guess what? They still have it years later, and they do a good job. But the first guy that got hired, just failing forward, and it's ridiculous. And it's like, they do not, I don't think people really understand how much harder it is for women in any industry than it is for men. I mean, I don't think white men specifically understand this.
Leave the left already. Those are your two options, okay? There's a new sheriff in town.
Oh God, they're the sheriff? Is that what they're going? There's a new sheriff in town. And are they the ones that are kicking people into the left or out of the left? Guess what, dude? That's an idea. You can't like kick people out of an idea. What the fuck are these guys on? I don't know why they think this. It's bizarre to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And just before we wrap this segment, let's take a look at the very humiliating finale here. Posting our own elves that TYT's volunteer YouTube chat moderators quit over the tweet, and someone reported me to Human Resources. An on-air transgender contributor even resigned from the company after being urged by online mobs and leftist shows to do so. So she's basically like, yeah, I made everyone in my workplace really uncomfortable. I became a pariah.
Except they weren't in the workplace.
Pariah at work because I'm so unlikable and such a Karen that everyone quit in mass.
Yeah, and also I'm gonna go ahead and try and scapegoat the trans contributor who felt so disturbed by my commentary and so disturbed by my phony progressive laurels and how they were using this banner to hide their bigotry, that they had to quit. And she can't even just let it go, right? She can't even just let Benny live. She's like, I never apologized, or she's curious that none of those shows hired her after she took their advice. Bro, we haven't taken $20 million from Katzenberg, okay? We haven't taken corporate money over here. This is an independent hand-to-mouth show. I'm a bartender, okay? The people that you're...
How do they think that TYT gets funded? It's by their audience, largely. Their audience. People like me. I doubt they pay for a subscription to TYT. They might do the $4.99. I do the $25 one because I want to give some, like every month, because I do $25, somebody gets a free subscription to TYT. I think that's important, so I do that.
We're obsessed with, we don't even count, dog. Okay, we're not even a relevant part of the conversation. You're so removed from reality that you think two blowhards in my house are competing with you in studios and staff. That's what's your problem. That's what you're so removed from reality, and it's because you can't hustle and you can't play this game. And as Gavin pointed out 10 times earlier in this stream, you don't have the skills to succeed and swim on your own. You got plucked out of obscurity when you were a kid, and you made yourself on a network that had already built an audience.
But yeah, and then I never apologized for the tweet, and I never will. No one asked you to apologize for anything. That's another
I've actually seen someone ask her to apologize for it, so
piece of framing that I just hate, and you see it over and over again from reactionaries and people that are doing the right-wing pivot. They act like criticism is the same thing as people demanding that they apologize. No, I don't demand Anna apologize. I don't even demand that she reverts her opinion back to what it used to be or changes it at all. You have the right to hold whatever opinion you wish. If that's really how you feel, I'm glad you're being honest about it. I wouldn't want you to lie just to fit in at work or whatever. So, props to you if you're really being honest, but that doesn't mean we have to be quiet about it. That doesn't mean we're not going to criticize it. Of course we are. That's the whole point of the space. Like I said, to have intense debates, to engage in...
Yeah, but that's not what they're trying to do. They're not trying to have this debate. They are literally doing kind of shock and awe. They are being like, look, she's a grifter. She's not the real one. Look. It's like, but that whatever they're trying to say that with doesn't actually make sense. Because if you've been watching TYT for the last decade, like I have, that's not correct. And if you think that, then I think you're not looking at it in an honest way. I think you're looking at it through your bias. I don't know why. But I would think you should look inward a little bit. And I think that's one of Anna Kasparian's biggest gripes about the left, is not being able to look inward on themselves. And I've found that to be true a lot. A lot of people on the left cannot look inward on themselves. I'm not saying everyone can't, but I've met a lot of people that said they're progressive, said they're on the left, and literally would also have right-wing talking points. So, in my opinion, but did I say that? But I didn't turn to those people and be like, oh, you're just a Trump supporter, because they weren't. So instead, I would have that conversation with them, and talk to them more and try to understand where their viewpoint is, try to understand where they're coming from. And you know what? I actually applaud TYT, because that's what they've been doing a lot lately on their show, is getting as many perspectives as they can, I think, in order to understand, what's going on for right-wingers. There's a reason they are the way they are. There's a reason for it. And if we can figure out what that is and fix that, we can make America better. Because the reason why they're going after Trump is because something lacks in their life greatly. And we need to figure what that is and fix it for them. And then they'll probably be better human beings. Just saying.
In discourse with people that you agree with and disagree with. That's kind of the point, like I said. So again, no one's asking you to apologize. No one's even asking you to change your opinions. We're just making content about how stupid they are.
Okay, so I'm not going to watch the rest of this. It's already pretty damn long. But yeah, I don't agree with these guys. I'm sure they're fine. I don't think they're horrible people, but I don't think they're being mature about it, to be honest. I think they're acting a bit childish, and they are, I don't know, just they're not looking at this in a very nuanced way, and I think that's a hard thing for a lot of people to be able to do. And I really think they should look inward instead of do what they're doing. Thanks for watching. Subscribe.